Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Halo Season 1. So, as always, I'm going to give the good, the bad, and the furry. To start off with furry, if you consider most of the Covenant species as kind of like circly or scaly or whatever else, then yeah, tons of animals in this. or tons of furry in this. Alright, moving on. So, I did an episode 1 review of this show. It's in the link down below, so go ahead and watch that. We're going to kind of continue from there. So, once again, John Spartan. It's kind of towards the beginning of the Covenant War. Not at the very beginning, but clearly before the fall of Reach, whenever that happened. So, to give you my perspective and my background, if you didn't watch the season episode 1 review down there, I have only played the first 3 Halo games, and then I watched like a playthrough on YouTube of like Halo 4 and 5, and then I watched the god-awful hot garbage shit that was the live-action show a few years ago, so don't watch that one. That one's garbage. But I haven't read any of the books, and some of the side ones, some of the side games and whatnot I haven't played. So, yeah, I enjoyed this show. Much like with the first episode, I felt like there were some janky things throughout this season, like they stopped wearing some of their body armor things during times that I was like, okay, so then why were you wearing it there and then not wearing it here? And then there was times where it's like, hey, we're going to have our helmets off, in a time where like, shit's going sideways, maybe you should put your helmet on so you don't get fucking knocked out. No? Okay, sure, whatever. So there was a couple things like that. There wasn't any CGI that I could remember seeing that was as bad as the first episode. Like, there were some real janky things, and I'm hoping that the, like, public criticism of, like, why is shit fucked up, got them to fix it before the other episodes came out. Not perfect. There's some of it where I'm like, okay, I feel like we could get that quality CGI of, like, the Covenant Masters or whatever. I feel like you get that level from just the video games at this point, just because of how much the technology has improved. But they weren't bad. Like, there wasn't any of that Uncanny Valley stuff. I did feel like there was, much like with other shows and whatnot, where they're trying to have a romance, sometimes, like, I'm just, you know what? Here's how I'm going to put it. If you've seen The Batman, and you're like, I like that they had chemistry, Batman and Catwoman, like they had chemistry, but why they're actually interested in each other and like that connection and that relationship, they didn't put enough into it to make it make sense for them to have those feelings for each other. If you agree with that, then I think you will agree with the relationship that they had here. Felt a little shoehorned, and like they didn't quite develop it enough to really justify some of the actions that the characters took because of it. But it's one of those things where if you just kind of get over that hurdle, where you're just like, let's just accept it as like, yep, that's plausible, then all the rest of their actions because of that make sense and are in an enjoyable way. It did have a little bit of the Star Wars Episode 3 thing, where like things were going one way, and then one little thing happened, and then things went totally the other way. Not quite the scale of Episode 3, mind you, but like still that sort of like, well, things are going, and then, okay, that one little thing, and now everything's, alright. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked seeing the fight scenes. Maybe it's because I had to watch it spaced out episode by episode for the most part, but I wish there had been more fight scenes. I think overall, if I was to watch the season all at once, I think that I would say that there was enough fight scenes, because the fight scenes that they had were good. It's hard because on the one hand there was almost a disconnect between how fast like the Spartans run in like when it's clearly the actor versus when they were doing like the CGI awesome like mid-battle like jumping around and super speed fight scenes. But at the same time, it still fits somehow. It's kind of, I mean, maybe this is not the best reference, but it's like in Twilight when you had the vampires like running or whatever, or like fighting each other, and they're doing their thing, and then when they were running through the woods like at super speed, that still looked good in my opinion. So that I think is a little bit of what we have here. Like, it didn't look like CGI other than the fact that I had seen kind of their pace and how they were and how they were moving in the armor, and their overall movements weren't different, but the speed at which they could move was just like, ah, man, that has to be CGI, even though it doesn't look CGI, you know? But I'm okay with that. I was happy with that level because, again, it wasn't like, here's when the CGI takes over. It was like, it was kind of blended. And I will say there was a beautiful scene that they did where they were like jumping out of the back of a thing, and like they had him like looking at the camera without his helmet on. He turns away, puts his helmet on, jumps out the back. The camera guy follows him, comes around and gets in front of him, and then they land. Like, it's all, I'm sure there's a bunch, like, there might have even just been his head CGI'd onto the rest of the scene. I don't fucking know. But the fact that I don't know, and I, like, only from my virtue of having seen a bunch of films could I be like, that has to be somewhere there's a cut. But how they did it was just so seamless that I feel like it makes up for episode's one jankiness. Because of just that one scene alone, with how they did that, was just absolutely phenomenal. That scene where they were able to blend like all those different things to make it look like one long cut, it really, really brings you into the action. So I really liked that. I thought that, you know, they only had time to really give a couple of the Spartans character. The rest of them were just kind of enforcers, but I think that worked. It's sort of like in the TV show SEAL Team, where you only really meet the like 3 out of the 7 for a while, and then you sort of get introduced to the others, but like we care about these particular ones, and these guys are kind of sort of like that. Or like you know, Black Eyed Peas, where you got will.i.am and Fergie, and then the other ones. Important, but the other ones. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a thumbs up. I could understand if maybe it's not your thing, if you're like, John Spartan's not supposed to take off his helmet, we're not supposed to know his backstory. There was janky CGI in the first episode. The chick with the weird haircut story kind of went nowhere. Like, this is not a perfect episode. This is not a perfect show, but it's good enough that I enjoyed it. I would watch this again. I might watch this again before watching season 2, which hopefully will come out. So I thought it was good, and I thought that they ended in a good spot. I don't know if storyline-wise, I don't know where it is in the Halo universe type of thing, so maybe there is enough time for a second episode or second season, or maybe there isn't. But overall, I'd give this a thumbs up. I had a fun time. So that's all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at the next one. Bye.